Hi everyone. I'd like to begin today's video lesson by sharing two quotes on education with you all. Education's purpose is to replace an empty mind with an open mind. Malcolm Forbes. Education which does not mold character is absolutely worthless. Mahatma Gandhi. The School for Sympathy, the first chapter of the fifth unit in the 8th Standard English Reader, is an essay written by Edward Verrall Lucas, the famous English humorist, essayist, playwright, biographer, publisher, poet, novelist, short story writer, and editor. In this essay, E.V. Lucas, the writer, tells us about a new type of school. As the name suggests, its purpose is to create sympathy in its students for the lame, the blind, and the handicapped. Sympathy is a feeling of pity or sorrow for the suffering or distress of another. The writer or author begins the essay by telling us that he had heard a lot about Miss Beam's school, but he had never got a chance to visit it. One day, he got the opportunity to visit the school. On entering the school campus, the writer saw a girl of about 12 years of age. Her eyes were covered with a bandage, and an 8-year-old little boy was guiding her carefully through the flower beds in the garden. The girl stopped and asked her guide, that is the little boy, who it was that had come in. The boy seemed to describe the writer to her. Then they walked on. The writer went into the building and met Miss Beam, the head of the school. Miss Beam was a middle-aged woman who was kind and understanding. Her hair had started turning grey. She was like a mother to the young girls and boys in the school. The writer wanted to know more about Miss Beam's school, and while talking with her, he asked her some questions about her teaching methods. He had heard that her teaching methods were quite simple. Miss Beam said that the pupils or students of her school were taught simple and useful skills like adding, subtracting, multiplying, spelling, writing, etc. The rest was done by reading to them and by giving them interesting tasks. The writer then asked Miss Beam about the originality of her school system. Miss Beam's school was a school like no other. It was unique. Miss Beam was happy to speak about the speciality of her school. She said the real aim of her school was not to teach thought, but thoughtfulness. The school also taught humanity, kindness, and citizenship. Most schools that we know of teach its students how to think or what to think, mostly what to think. They give importance to thought, but not Miss Beam's school. Her school gave importance to thoughtfulness. What is this thoughtfulness? Thoughtfulness is the quality that makes you treat your fellow human beings with care and consideration. And what is humanity? Humanity is the quality of being kind to people and animals. In short, Miss Beam's school gave importance to building the character of its pupils or students. The real aim of her school was to make children kind and thoughtful. Miss Beam told the writer that this was what she always had in mind, and she was happy that some parents trusted her ideals or ideas and gave her support by sending their children to her school. Schools work only if there is an equal cooperation from the part of the parents and the school authorities. Miss Beam then asked the writer to look out of the window. The writer then went near the window and looked out of it. In answer to Miss Beam's question as to what he saw outside, he said he saw a large garden, some beautiful grounds, and a lot of happy children. He was sad or pained to find out that the children were not healthy and active even though they looked happy. He told Miss Beam about the girl he had seen while entering the campus, the girl with the bandage on her eyes. Looking out of the window, he saw two more with their eyes bandaged. He also saw a little girl with a crutch. She seemed to be a cripple. A cripple is a person who is unable to walk or move normally because of a disease or injury. Miss Beam laughed and said that girl was not really lame. A lame person is a person who is unable to walk properly because of a problem with one's feet or legs. Miss Beam continued that those with eyes covered in bandages were not really blind. The one with the crutch was having her lame day, and the ones with their eyes covered were having their blind day. The writer was so surprised to hear what Miss Beam said. Miss Beam laughed again and said that this was her school system in short. Sharing in misfortunes helped the young boys and girls to properly understand the misfortune of others. In the course of the term, every student had a blind day, a lame day, a deaf day, and a dumb day. Let's take a minute here and look at the meaning of some of the words. A blind person is someone who cannot see. A deaf person is someone who cannot hear. A dumb person is someone who cannot speak. Let's get back. Miss Beam continued that on the blind day, their eyes are bandaged or covered. The bandage is put on their eyes the night before so that they wake up blind. Because they need help, the other children are told to help them and guide them. Miss Beam said that this was good for both the blind and their helpers. She said that this practice made everyone, even the unkindest student, a kind one. Before the day got over, the student could understand the reality of the disability, the problems of the disabled. The blind day was the worst, but some children feared that the dumb day, that is the day on which they could not speak, some children feared the dumb day the most. That was because on the dumb day, the mouth was not bandaged. The child had to use his or her willpower not to speak. Miss Beam took the writer to the garden because she wanted him to know how the children responded to her system. She introduced him to a bandaged girl and left the garden. The writer asked the happy little girl with her eyes bandaged if she ever tried to peep. To peep is to look secretly. The girl answered that would be cheating. She said that she had no idea until then that to be blind was terrible. A blind person could not see anything. There was always the feeling that they were going to be hit by something each moment. The girl said that it was a relief to sit down. The writer asked the girl if her guides were kind to her on her blind day. She said that they were quite good, but she would be more careful when it was her turn to help someone on his or her blind day. She felt that those who had already been blind made the best guides. The writer asked her if he should lead her somewhere. The girl suggested that they go for a little walk. She asked the writer to describe the sights around them because her eyes were bandaged and she needed someone to describe the sights around her. She was waiting for her blind day to be over. The other bad days were not half as bad as the blind day. On the lame day, a leg was tied up and one jumped about on a crutch. The girl felt it was almost fun. Having an arm tied up was a little more troublesome because the person whose arm was tied up needed someone to cut their food for them. But still, the girl felt that it was better than the blind day. She said she also wouldn't mind being deaf for a day, but being blind was so frightening. Her head always ached or pained from trying to avoid things that probably weren't there. The writer and the girl were walking around with the writer leading her. The girl asked the writer where they were then. The writer said they were in the playground going towards the house. He said he could see Miss Beam walking up and down the terrace with a tall girl. The girl asked him what that tall girl was wearing, and the writer replied that that girl was in a blue skirt and a pink blouse. The first girl, that is the girl with the writer, she said that the girl in blue skirt and pink blouse might be Millie and asked about the color of her hair. The writer said that her hair had a light color. The girl with the writer then said that it surely was Millie, the head girl. According to her, Millie was a very decent girl. The writer then described about an old man tying up roses. The girl said that that was Peter, the old gardener. The writer then described a dark girl in red walking on crutches. The girl said that she was Beryl. And so the writer and the girl walked on, and by leading and guiding the girl with the bandage on her eyes, the writer found out that he had become more careful and considerate than he already was. He also understood that describing one's surroundings or sights that one sees around to another made them more interesting. When the writer's visit to the school came to an end, Miss Beam came to see him off, or she came to say goodbye to the writer. The writer loved the place so much that he said he felt sorry to go from there. Miss Beam felt very happy to hear it. As the writer walked back to the town, he incorrectly murmured the lines from the English poet William Blake's poem, On Another's Sorrow. Can I see another's woe and not share their sorrow too? Oh no, never can it be. Never, never can it be.